and welcome. My name is Josie, if we haven't met before. I'm a stay-at-home mom to a 1-year-old, almost 2-year-old. And this is my channel where I am really enjoying documenting what I'm creating, what I'm making for myself, for my family and friends, and for the home. So this is a podcast mostly about knitting. Sometimes I sew, sometimes I do other crafts, but I'll document that here with you guys. And then it just follows the normal podcast. So I'll show you what I've finished for the month, which is this month, 3 things, which is very exciting. What I'm working on, and then any kind of plans I have for the upcoming month. So with that, we'll just get right into it. The first item that I finished that I am very excited about is the Friend to Friend Shrug by Leslie Friend. Here it is. This is actually the second one I made. So the first one I did not gauge swatch. It is such a big stitch gauge. It did not take up any time at all knitting it, and I knew it wouldn't. And so I just was like, I'm not gonna swatch, I'm just gonna go for it. So the first time I used the recommended yarn, which was Lion brand Hue and Me. Recommended needle size, which was, let me look here, US 11. And then according to my measurements, I made a size 0. And the first time I followed the pattern to a T, and it was too small. I'll throw some pictures up because I finished it, I cast it off, and it was too small, it was too short, and it was too tight. I did look at my gauge after I was done with that first one, and it was 3 stitches smaller than the recommended gauge. And so I ripped it out, and because I really wanted one. So I wasn't discouraged. It was so fun to knit and so easy that I ripped it out, and I just did it again. So this one, I made a few modifications. I went up a needle size to US 13, and then I went up a size also. So I knitted size 1 on US 13 needles. And then I also increased, she mentions in the pattern that if you have a long torso, you may want to increase the number of rows in between the decrease rounds, and I did that. So before the first decrease round, I knitted 4 additional rows, and then followed the decrease recommendation rows after that. My camera cut out and I did not know it, so I hope I'm in the same spot. I was just talking about the decrease rounds. I followed the same, and I did the same bind off. She does not recommend bind off, so I just did the Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off in 1x1 rib, and it worked great. I love it so much. Yeah, I love the positive ease in it. It's very comfy. I love the length. It's a little bit longer. I'll put 2 pictures side by side so you can see my first one compared to the second one. And it's very comfortable. It's really everything that I wanted. So this was a very, very fun knit. It was a fun process knit, and it was a fun product knit. So really happy with this. Highly recommend her pattern. Okay. My second finished object that I have with me is the yarn Cozy Light knit version by Nitty Natty. She's hosting a cozy along knit along, and I wanted to participate. I really want to be able to pull from like a center ball, and I've tried once before, and it was the constant, like the ball losing structure and falling apart and getting tangled was very annoying. So I'm hoping this works. She really loves these and she uses them all the time, and so I'm hoping it helps. This one I did in Life in the Long Grass Fine Sock The colorway is spelled Gorse. Don't know how to pronounce that, but it was just some scrap yarn or leftover yarn that I had from knitting a pair of socks. I did not do contrast I-cord, just for ease, I guess, for simplicity's sake. I did the plain and simple version. She gives you 3 versions in the pattern. And so I just did the plain and simple. And I'm very excited to use it. I did not have any sock yarn currently to like put this in, to put it into a 100-gram cake, and hopefully it fits. Hopefully the stretchy I-cord bind off works. I don't have any to test, but I'm hoping that changes this weekend, and I'll let you know about that a little later in my plans. But I use the recommended needle size of 1 and followed her stretchy I-cord bind off tutorial that she includes, and it was super easy. It was not intimidating, just a very fun quick knit. I did this in like 6 days while not working on it. You know, constantly I had like 6 other projects on the go, so it was very fun. Highly recommend, and I hope it works too. I'll keep you updated if it works. My last finished object I don't have with me. They are the Mountain Walk socks by Florence Miller. I'll put pictures up of them, of my sister wearing them. They were a gift for her, and she took them this month. They were so fun to knit. I used Cascade Heritage sock and Dusky Orchid, and the purple was beautiful. It was very spring, lilac, lavender color. So it was so much fun to work with. I had a lot of fun. They really inspired me to want to knit more intricate socks, more detailed socks instead of just vanilla socks. Again, I don't have any sock yarn, but I'm hoping that changes this weekend. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Loved them. They were beautiful. They look beautiful like on too, so they were just really, really fun. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I used the recommended needle size of size 1 and knit the first size for my sister. But yeah, they were beautiful. They were so fun. So my first whip that I want to share with you is the Oversized Seasons cardigan by Ozetta. The yarn I'm using is Valley Yarns Northampton and colored way charcoal. I did work on this, even though it doesn't look like it. But it's slow going, and I knew it was, and there's really no rush to get it done. It's still, I mean, it's not even summer yet, and it's 100% wool, so it's a long process. I'm using this little, once I get untangled, goodness. Yes, okay, I'm using this little stitch marker, which is really fun because it's black yarn, and I wanted to have a cute little colorful stitch marker on here. So I've done about 2 inches. You can tell by the button band, but it does not look like I've done 2 inches on the body. I should really include 2 markers, one on the button band, one on the body, so I can have like a better reference. But anyway, I want to show you this because I have a question about a lifeline, about lifelines in general. I inserted this lifeline, if you can see a little, probably, I have my notes here. About 6 rows back, I inserted this lifeline. And I inserted it after a wrong side row. So the next row I was going to be working in the stitch below to create the half fisherman rib pattern. And when I was doing that, I was just noticing that I'm not like picking up I'm not working every stitch on the needle that the lifeline is like through, because I'm knitting every other stitch into the row below, and so I don't know if it will work. If I have to rip back to that, I don't know if it will, if the stitches, like if the lifeline will be kind of tangled up in the stitches. I don't know. Let me know if you've ever inserted a lifeline in half fisherman's rib. Did you do it after the wrong side row or after the right side row? Because I'm thinking I should just do it after the right side row before I come back and just like knit every stitch. And that way, yeah, I'm not working into the row below the lifeline. I'm hoping this makes sense because I would love your advice if you have had experience with lifelines in half fisherman's rib. And even to, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but the lifeline kind of created a, I don't know, like a dent in the fabric. I don't know if you can see that, but. So yeah, I probably won't show you this every month just because the progress is so slow and I imagine it could be a little boring for you not seeing a ton of work. But I'm just working on this slowly and really enjoying it when I do, but it is very complicated. It is very, I understand why she calls it skilled. I'm not too intimidated by it, but when I work on it, I have to work on it slowly. There's just, I can't have any other distractions. It is a, I'm working on this, I'm only working on this kind of a project. So so far I'm really excited for the product, but the process has been difficult. And that's okay, it's kind of what I was expecting. Good, the camera's still recording. I have it set up on my watch where I can see that, oh, we're still going. So if I look at my watch, I'm sorry. Okay, the second whip that I'm working on was an impromptu cast on. It is another double thick pot holder by Pearl Soho. And again, I'm using it to pray for a friend that's going through a difficult, challenging season. She is about to get married this summer, and so I'm knitting it in one of her wedding colors, kind of. She has sunflowers as her wedding flowers, and the only options were this like Easter yellow. I'll let you see it there too. Or like a mustard yellow. I figured this was a little bit closer to a sunflower, or at least a flower look than a mustard yellow. I don't know. But yeah, it is the same yarn I used last time, the Lily Sugar and Cream Solids, just yellow is the color. And I am not doing magic loop. I went ahead and bought 16-inch size 6 needles, what the pattern calls for. If you watched my video last time, I was having some difficulty with laddering in magic loop. And so I just went ahead and bought 16 inches for size 6. So I could, because I see myself, I really enjoy doing this. I really enjoy praying and knitting for my friends, for my family. This was really fun. And I could see myself doing it a lot in the future. So I just went ahead and got some clover, basic clover brand from Joann's. I was gonna try a different yarn, different cotton yarn, but this was just the most economical for me at this time. And so yeah, I was grateful to be able to buy this and start knitting it up for her. So I'm hoping this is done by the end of this week, and so I can send it to her in the mail. She gets it at the end of next week. I talked about this a lot in my last podcast. Very easy. It's a free pattern as well by Pearl Soho. My last whip is the Vegas top by, I don't have her name written down, and if I remember right, I can't pronounce it, so I will write it on the screen. I'm using Drops Belle. This is good. I'm just finished my second ball of yarn. So I'm using Drops Belle. I got it from Laughing Hens in the UK. They delivered. It took a while to get the delivery, but yeah. Now I'm wondering, have you seen this? I can't remember if I showed this to you in the last video. I don't think I had the yarn yet I knew I was gonna knit it, but I don't think I had the yarn. So this is Drops Belle. The color is 22. It's a worsted, 53% cotton, 33% viscose, 14% linen. This is a dream to knit with compared to like the Lily Sugar and Cream cotton yarn. Amber from A Lovely Yarn told me that like she really enjoyed working with this, and I see why, because yeah, it's just so much more enjoyable. I'm guessing the viscose is what gives it a little bit of stretch. It doesn't feel as dry and stiff. But I'm, yeah, really enjoying this. So I went ahead and made 2 swatches. Let me get to my notes page. So the first, according to my measurements, I needed size small, so I went ahead and swatched using the recommended needle size US 6. Let me see which one this is. I tie knots in them to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, so this was my size 6. And the gauge was too small, and row count as well, although it's not as important in this pattern from just like reading the pattern. But the gauge was too small, so I went up to US size 7. Made a bigger swatch because I was really hoping it would work. And the gauge was still too small. But US size 8 was on my Ozetta cardigan, so I was like, I'm going with US size 7. It's probably not the best, but... And I didn't want the fabric to get like too loose, of course, and I don't know. So I went ahead and went with US size 7. Amber in her, I think most previous podcast, talks about how she adjusted a pattern to get gauge with a different yarn weight than was recommended in the pattern by this Tin Can Knits blog post, and I went ahead and followed it. I did the math according to that blog post, and I was like getting my recommended size, and so with US size 7, the size small. So I went ahead, cast on for the size small, provisional cast on, first time using it. I followed Andrea Mowry's provisional cast on tutorial, and that was very helpful. And then I found a different one for how to pick up the stitches from the provisional cast on, and it worked out really well. I was very happy with it. This is the front. So the actual fabric I'm really enjoying. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the fabric, the feel of the fabric. I could see this being just really cool to the touch, and so I'm really excited about that. Dakota from Joy and Knitting in her latest podcast is wearing this tank top, and it was very inspiring, very encouraging to just like, oh, that's what mine will look like, hopefully. My one thing about this project is the yarn, not the quality, but the color. I feel like it just looks a little dingy, a little dirty. I was expecting more beige kind of pink from the pictures online, and I know pictures, screen colors differ and things, but I was just expecting more of a beige, and this looks, I feel like, pretty gray and pink, and I feel like it just looks a little dirty, a little dingy. I don't know if you can see, I hope not. But I'm excited for it. I've joined under the arms now, and I just knit into my desired length and then do I-cord bind off everywhere. So it's been a very quick knit thanks to the thicker yarn. So yeah, if you have knitted with Drops Belle, let me know. Yeah, let me know if you enjoyed it. I'm excited. I'm excited to keep working on this. It's been very fun. The directions are very clear. There's been no issue understanding them, just taking them slow. And even though it is a new construction, like provisional cast on and the working the back and the front separately. I haven't done a tank top like that. So it's been very fun. I'm hoping to be finished with this very soon because it is getting very warm here now. And I just realized I don't have a lot of like summer garments besides t-shirts, which I like wearing t-shirts because I like sweat and then it's no big deal if you're just wearing a t-shirt. But I'm excited to have something a little bit nicer that's cooling. And that was my last whip. Let me double check. I talked about all three. Yeah, that was my last whip. For acquisitions and plans, I have one. Well, I guess I have a few acquisitions. You already saw the Lily Sugar and Cream yarn and then the Drops Belle. My third acquisition I'm super excited about. It's the Explorer Knits and Fibers. She relaunched her national parks theme yarn a few months ago. It was like a pre-order, and my mom and I used to take these trips to Great Smoky Mountain every year until COVID, and then I got pregnant and can't go anymore. But we did it for several years, less than 10, but we would just go together. So we really have great memories at Smoky Mountain Park. And when I saw this yarn, I was like, oh, Mom, if you buy this, I will knit you something with it. So she bought it, and I got it this month, and I'm really excited. I asked her if she wanted another pair of socks, and she asked for the Musselburgh hat, the one that to be made similarly to how I made it a few months ago. So I get to knit her a hat. I'm not casting it on yet because it's still a little early, but after I finish my stockinette tank in the round tank, I could see myself knitting this, especially. I think I may try a few like knit nights this summer, and that will be like the Musselburgh hat will be such an easy, don't have to think about it kind of a project. And so I did get her Denali sock base, 80 merino, 20% nylon, Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So this is such a fun gift. Yeah, so this will be really fun to knit for my mom. And because she bought the yarn, I told her it's not going to be a surprise. You'll get to see it, feel it when I knit on it. So I have 2 books that I want to show you I got from the library. I'll be right back. Okay, I hope I'm in the same spot. The first one I got was 52 Weeks of Socks. I just got this in the library a few days ago, and I was mentioning that those Mountain Walk socks really just made me crave more intricate socks instead of vanilla socks. How many times can I say the word socks? But 52 Weeks of Socks, I was looking through this, and there are not a lot of patterns that I like. They're all, yeah, they're just not a lot that I like, but I went ahead and saved, I think 13. I went ahead and copied 13 so that I can have them. And I'm just super pumped. Such a economic way to save a little bit of money, especially since I don't like all the socks in here. They're beautiful, but I just wouldn't want to knit them and wear them. This is super fun. I'm going to the Hoosier Hills, Hoosier Hills Fiber Fest this weekend. June 2nd, I think is the date that I'm going. And I am pumped. It's my first fiber yarn festival, and I'm really excited. It'll just be me. I get to have, my husband is giving me a day away so that I can just go and spend some time there. And I'm really excited. I have on my list of things to buy, and one of them is a sock yarn so that I can knit an intricate sock from this pattern book. So I'm really excited. And another thing that I have been learning a lot about is, I got this book from the library, Respect the Spindle by Abby Francomont. And this is very inspiring. This is very like, oh, I want to do that. There are some beautiful pictures in here. I mean, just look at the first picture. And then, yeah, there's beautiful. She tells her story too about like growing up in South America, or I think it was South America. Let me see. Yeah, the rural Andes of Peru. Grew up a little bit there, and it like her photos are just really beautiful. My first time seeing a spindle was months ago on Gabriella's podcast, Merryweather Knitting, and she mentioned it very briefly in one of her podcasts, and I was like, that looks interesting, and then never thought about it again. And what was I can't remember what I was watching, but it made me think like, I wonder if I could like spin some yarn. I came across this wonderful book. I think Jillian Eve, who seems very well known in the spinning world, she recommended this book to learn more about spindle spinning, and I'm hooked without having one. So also at the Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival, I'm hoping that there will be spindles there, and I'm hoping that I can get some fiber. That's what made me remember spindle spinning. So at the Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival, on a Friday, there are classes. Friday and Saturday there are some classes you can take, and they have an intro to drop spindling on Friday, a class, and I can't go to that because my husband works and I take care of my son. But that, I like just looking at their pictures and the teachers' pictures who host, that's what made me think, let's look into spindle spinning a little bit more. The thought of making yarn is just very fun. It's also intimidating because I know that if it's not good enough, I'll put that in quotation marks, I won't want to use it for knitting projects, and I don't like having things just around the house. Like, I don't have a yarn stash. I have a scrap stash and leftover stash, but I don't have a yarn stash. I buy yarn when I'm ready to knit a project. And so I don't love the idea of just having random, yarn that I've spun around the house if I'm not going to use it. But I was also thinking that it could be really fun to use it in punch needle. I shared with a few episodes ago, that I did a punch needle project for the first time and really loved it, and wool yarn works great for punch needling, and so I'm thinking that could be a really fun way to use it. And also different like wall hangings around my house. I have a few Ravelry projects saved for different wall hanging projects, and that could be a great way to use the yarn as well, until I get more comfortable like spinning yarn that I want to knit and like wear, or even like an accessory. So yeah, I'm super pumped. This book is very inspiring. I'll put some photos up that I've taken of this book because the photos are gorgeous, and I'm just really excited to try. If I do get a drop spindle and some fiber, I think I may record a video. If I'm brave enough, I'll like film a little bit at the festival because it's my first one, so I have no idea what to expect. And then if I get a drop spindle, I think it would be fun to record my first ever attempt at drop spindling with this book. School of Sweet Georgia has a drop spindle class by Diana Twist. It's like a membership base, so you have to pay monthly to access the class. And so if I can't succeed on the Respect the Spindle book instructions, I may just go ahead and get the class. I may get the class anyway because I saw on her module list that it talks about the different spindles, like recommendations, and so I may go ahead and get the class anyway, like sign up for the school membership and get the class. But I'm super pumped about this weekend. I cannot wait to go to my first Fiber Festival. I have a budget, so I can't go bananas, but I am just really looking forward. My local Spinners and Weavers Guild is going to be there too, so I think that would be really fun to try and meet up with that booth there and get to know the ladies and let them know that I have no idea what I'm doing spinning wise, but I'm excited to try and see if they have like any knit nights. That's kind of what I was talking about with the Musselboro hat, just to see if they have any knit nights that they host, since I don't spin yet. But so yeah, I'm very excited about the upcoming projects this summer, this month especially. This next part is just the chill part of the podcast where I talk about my favorite things that I've been enjoying. I finished The Office this month, and then I started watching Outer Banks. I tried watching it a few months ago, and the constant like fighting between the two team groups was irritating, maybe, is that the right word? It just bothered me. I didn't enjoy watching it, and so I took a few months off, and then my sister was telling me that it gets better, and right where I stopped, she said, like, after that episode, really there's not as much fighting. So yeah, I restarted it, and it was very fun. It was very addictive. It was very like, oh, let's see what happens next. And it was very outlandish, far-fetched, but just this summer, you know, they live in the Outer Banks. Just the warmth and the summer vibe was super fun to watch as the weather is getting warmer here. So that was really fun, and I finished it, so now I don't have a show. I can't find Psych anywhere. Someone recommended me to watch Psych if I liked The Office, but I can't find that on my streaming services, so I haven't looked too hard because I just finished Outer Banks a few days ago. And my husband and I are not really watching a show right now. As for movies, I don't know if we watched any super good movies. We really want to see the new Guardians movie, but haven't. We'll probably wait till it comes out to Redbox or Disney Plus or something. The books I've been reading are the Wing Feather Saga by Andrew Peterson. I'm on the second one. I think it's called North or Be Eaten. I finished the first one, and they've been really fun. They are children books, and you can, I wouldn't say children, I'd say middle school books, middle grade books, but you can definitely see that. But they've been really fun. I've really enjoyed reading them. I wouldn't say they're light, because there are some dark things, kind of even scary a little bit at times, but they've been really fun to read before bedtime, so I'm slowly reading those. And then as for YouTube channels that I've been really enjoying this month, because of the spinning interest, I have some new to me spinning channels that I've been really enjoying. The first one is Lisa from Soulful Spinning. She makes beautiful things. She also weaves, but she does a lot of spinning in order to knit things. Like currently she's working on a sweater that is just made out of her hand spun, and that to me is like goals. And she still does a lot of spindle spinning, which is fun. She does wheel spinning too, but I love seeing spindle spinning in action because it's so beautiful. That tool is really beautiful. So she's been really fun to watch. The other one I've been enjoying is Rachel Smith, her wool and spinning podcast. If you go to her home video page on YouTube, you don't see them, but if you go to playlist, then she has all of her podcasts linked there, and so that's how I've been watching them, and they've been really enjoyable. She seems like she's a really close-knit Patreon community, and that to me just sounds really fun. That's why I started this channel, to hopefully make friends and meet other makers and crafters, and that sounds like that's what she has, and so it's been really fun to watch. It's really sweet to watch, so I recommend her channel as well. And those are really the only 2 new ones that I've been, for spinning content, that I've been just really enjoying, that are really relaxing. So thanks for staying here with me if you made it this far. Like and subscribe if you did like this video, if you want to see more. Leave a comment down below, introduce yourself. I'd really love to meet you. I'm thinking about getting back on Instagram just to be more part of the community, the knitting community. Yeah, I would love to be more plugged in, make some more knitting friends that way. But I am excited to hopefully get more plugged into my local spinning guild as well. So yeah, leave a comment, introduce yourself. I'd love to meet you. These videos are so fun to make. Every time I'm just, this is like, I just forget how much fun they are to make when I make them. So I'm hoping maybe to make a little bit more, but definitely at the end of every month I'll do like a little recap. So hopefully you'll see me in a few weeks, maybe trying out the drop spindle, maybe not. If it just doesn't work or I don't have time, then you'll see me at the end of June. But hope you have a great start to your summer. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Bye.